So, good evening. So, we will talk today about how to find security in a time of danger. And Michael and I worked a lot educating people in the medical field, mainly for many years, for the last 20 years. And what we learned there is actually very relevant in these times. We are now in the 5th week of the quarantine, and it seems that maybe a few weeks ago there was a little bit more just blatant fear around, but there is still a lot of anxiety in the air. And also, what's growing, it seems, on us is the realization, in one shape or form, this is going to be going on for a very long time, and it might change our lives, our world, in very unexpected ways. And it will impact many people just very differently. Some people like us who are fairly fortunate, we are able to self-isolate, even though you are not. You're going to Cottage Hospital, but most of us are able to self-isolate. And but then many people are actually losing their jobs, not knowing maybe where they are going to live, and what their world will be like. And so there are worries on many different levels. For some of us, actually, the quiet, the self-isolation has also some positive effects. But for many in this world, this is a rather, uncertain and frightening prospect. And so the zeitgeist that we are hearing, and especially yesterday when we had a lot of Europeans join us, we realized it's just here as it's there in many different countries. There's a very similar sense of uncertainty. Maybe the one good thing is that we are all carrying it together. That's actually one positive aspect. But we just don't know how this is going to pan out. Yesterday afternoon, Alexis Lutsky and I gave a seminar through Inside LA on being with grief and tending to our grief, which was many people from up here and from down there came. And one thing we noticed, because we have been giving these retreats now for 2 years, us both, some of them together, that there has been quite a shift from personal grief, which is still very present for many people, but to grief that is more world grief. It's like a fear about more an existential grief and loss and anxiety. And sometimes this existential world grief brings up old personal feelings for us from our childhoods. So it's kind of mixing it together. But it's so we actually agreed with Inside LA that we will give our grief workshops from now on once a month until we have things calm down again. And you, Michael, you were on call, so you were in the hospital working with your real COVID and other patients. So what will happen today is Michael will guide us in a meditation, and then you will give a talk on how we can how we can find security in a time of danger and change. And then I will follow you with a Tonglen meditation that I recently learned. I don't know if you know giving and receiving Tonglen meditation, but for me in the past has been a little scary. How can I take in pain from others without getting it stuck inside of me. But I learned a way of doing it that seems very positive and affirming, and just a very different way of doing Tonglen. So I will show that to you in the end. But first, I wanted to hand over to you, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Radhule. Good evening, everybody. And let's just get straight into the first meditation, which is a mindfulness of breathing. And just to say that you'll notice that the mindfulness of breathing, towards the end, we move into, in a way, the practice of reciprocity, the practice of giving and receiving, a little bit like Tonglen, but kind of recognizing that reciprocity is at the very heart of breathing, that we're breathing in what the trees are breathing out, and the trees are breathing in what we're breathing out. And there's this life-giving reciprocal flow between us and all the green around us. So I invite you just to find your posture and close your eyes. And, feel free to, some people like to lie on the ground while they meditate. If you're sitting, maybe sit with a straight back, with soft shoulders, soft belly, and allow your awareness to drop down into your body. Allow your awareness to drop down into your body and all the way down to the ground, all the way down to the sensations of contact between the soles of your feet and the ground and the earth, between your seat and the chair. For just a few moments, allow your awareness to rest in these sensations of firmness and solidity. And as your awareness rests in the sensations of firmness and solidity, when you're ready, allow that awareness to rise up and fill the whole space of your body, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head, mindfully aware. And as you're mindfully aware within the body, within the space of the body, notice any areas of tension or discomfort. And with the inhale, breathe into that area. And with the exhale, loosen, soften, release. Breathing into the area of tension with the inhale, loosening, softening, letting go with the exhale. Now I invite you to allow your awareness to expand again within your body and to notice the sensations of breath wherever you're most aware of these in the body. Maybe the rise and fall of the belly, the rise and fall of the chest, the subtle flow of air moving in and out of your nostrils, And wherever you're most aware of the sensations of breath, allow your awareness to alight on the sensations of breath like a feather on a wave. Mindful of the sensations of the rising breath, mindfully aware of the sensations of the falling breath. For just a little while, allow your awareness to ride on the sensations of the rising breath, the falling breath, like a feather on a wave. When your mind is carried away by thoughts or distractions, as soon as you notice this, relax. Let go of the thought and allow your awareness to once more fall back into your body until it lightens on the sensations of breath, the rising breath, the falling breath. And again, if you're carried away by thoughts or distractions, just gently bringing your awareness back to the sensations of the rising breath and the sensations of the falling breath. And when you're ready, I invite you now to bring your particular attention to the sensations of the exhale, the sensations of the falling breath. And I invite you to let go, to release and let go with the sensations of the falling breath, all the way through the falling breath, letting go, letting go, letting go, even beyond the end of the falling breath, continuing to let go, to release and let go, until the next breath flows in effortlessly as the body comes up for air. Once again, letting go with the sensations of the falling breath, all the way through the falling breath, letting go, letting go, letting go, even beyond the end of the falling breath, continuing to let go, until the next breath flows in effortlessly as the body rises with the rising breath. For just a little while, allow your awareness to rest on the effortless rising and falling of the body's breathing. letting the body breathe, letting the body breathe all by itself. Each breath like a wave on an ocean of the body's breathing. The rising breath, falling breath, allowing yourself to be carried on this effortless flow. Kabir once wrote, "Something inside me has reached to the place where the earth is breathing. Something inside me has reached to the place where the earth is breathing." You've arrived at that place of exchange between the leaf of your body and the leaves of the trees around you. Your inhale, trees exhale. Your exhale, trees inhale. You've arrived in the flow that is the exchange between your body and the leaves of the trees nearby and the blades of grass. The reciprocal exchange between your body and the body of the living earth. Allow yourself to be carried in this reciprocal exchange. The effortless flow of the body's breathing. The effortless flow of the earth's breathing. Something inside me has reached to the place where the earth is breathing. For right now, you've done all you need to do. All you need to do now is to surrender to the effortless flow of the body's breathing, the effortless flow of the earth's breathing. Quick now, here, now, always. A condition of complete simplicity, costing not less than everything. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings everywhere be free. And may I become all that I need to become to best enable this to happen for all our relations. So I'm going to share with you now in a moment a story that meant a lot to me when I first heard it, which was many years ago. And it still means a lot to me. And it's a story that I sometimes share explicitly with people I'm working with in the hospital, in the hospice, because I think it's a story about something really helpful, really valuable, especially for those of us that are living in a time of great insecurity and a time of unsafety, and a time where there's a lot of fear around. So let me share this a little bit with you, and I'm going to share it through some slides, which let's see if we can make this work. So it's around the theme of deep security. Deep security as in finding resilience in uncertain times. This lady here is Cicely Saunders, and some of you may have heard of Cicely Saunders. She was an English doctor. Well, she was originally an English nurse, and as a nurse, she became aware of what a hard time and what a raw deal a lot of patients of hers who were approaching the end of their lives in acute hospitals. She just saw that they weren't getting good care. And so she wanted to do something about this. But she actually injured her back. And so she retrained as a social worker. And her vision for what she wanted to do kind of was crystallizing. And she spoke to a mentor of hers, and the mentor said, well, really, what you're talking about is nothing less than a revolution in healthcare, kind of a real paradigm shift. And, I'm sorry to say this, but doctors aren't going to listen to these ideas coming from a social worker, even if they're great ideas, and even if you put them across very persuasively. And that was probably, unfortunately, good advice. So she went off and trained a third time as a doctor. She used to call herself a one-person multidisciplinary team because she was a nurse, a social worker, and a doctor. And anyway, she went on from there, and she opened in 1967, she opened St. Christopher's Hospice in London. And St. Christopher's Hospice in London is seen as the first modern hospice, and it really marked the beginning of the hospice movement. And she's seen as the pioneer of the modern hospice movement. This is the lady who really did it. Kubler-Ross did a lot of the work around the psychological process of dying and adapting to it, but it was really Saunders' work that led to the hospice movement that we have in all our towns and villages throughout the world, and in our hospitals now as palliative care. So anyway, this is a story that she told. She used to tell this story, and it was in the very early days of St. Christopher's. And a lot of people were coming to see what was going on there. There was a lot of curiosity, and two psychiatrists had come over from the States, and she was showing them around St. Christopher's. And, you know, they were just so impressed by the whole atmosphere of the place, by coming to the bedside where there were families gathered around somebody who was sitting up in bed, who just seemed to be so awake, so alive, so engaged with her family, his family. Or perhaps another bed where somebody was very close to the end of life, perhaps unconscious, and perhaps a nurse sitting there holding that person's hand, and just a sense of kind of peace and all rightness.
And that's where you trained.
Yeah, I trained here at St. Christopher's with Cicely Saunders back in the late 70s and through the 80s. But anyway, she was showing these two psychiatrists around, and they came back to her office, and they were sitting in her office, and they said, how do you help people to come to this place of kind of no fear and of peacefulness in the face of their own death? And she replied, I recall remarking to the psychiatrist that when patients are in a climate of safety, they'll come to realize what's happening in their own way and not be afraid. And she just finished saying that when one of the psychiatrists sort of pushed back at her and said, how can you speak of a climate of safety when death is the most unsafe thing that can happen? The other psychiatrist, the second psychiatrist, came in and said, I think we're using the wrong word here. I think it should be security. Think of a little child, think of a little girl who is separated from her mother, but she's with adults. She's actually perfectly safe. She's in an underground shelter during an air raid. So even though she's quite safe, she's deeply insecure, and she's deeply insecure because she's separated from the one person who could give her a sense of security, her mother. Whereas think of another child who's in the same situation, in a bomb shelter during an air raid, but in his mother's arms. And that child may in fact be very unsafe. You know, this could be happening in this person's kitchen, and the bomb's dropping, and it could be deeply unsafe. But because the little child is held in security, he feels okay, and he feels, one might say, at peace. And so that's really the story. And Cicely Saunders commented on that, and she said, we have to give all our patients that feeling of security in which they can begin when they're ready to face unsafety. And I think that goes for all of us, that we all need that sense of deep inner security. However we come into that sense of deep inner security, that will be very customized. That will be very individualized. That'll depend on our story. That'll depend on our spiritual and religious practices. That'll depend on our psychological practices. It'll depend on a lot. But the important thing is finding our way into that place where we feel held, where we feel internally secure. Because when we feel held like that, we can face unsafety. I mean, think of that little child whose mother was breastfeeding him in the middle of a bombing raid. Well, that mom might pick up that little boy and walk out the door into the street, into this place of utter unsafety. Think of the streets of in Syria. Just think of the most unsafe place. But if that little child is held in security, that little child looks at unsafety and at uncertainty from that place of security. And in a way, it seems to me that this is something that we all need as we approach our own death, if we can find it. And it seems to me that it's something that could be really valuable and really important in these days of such unsafety, where we feel there is so much unsafety and so much uncertainty all around us. And she finished this story by adding this sentence, that the real presence of another person is a place of security. And this is what I say it to myself, but I also say it to if I'm teaching doctors, young doctors, or nurses, or chaplains, that if you find that sense, that place of deep security in yourself, you can be that security to someone else, even if that someone else is living in a situation of great fear and uncertainty. And you can be that holding to them, and that comes through your quality of presence. So I kind of just wanted to leave you with that story, but also with just some questions to think about. What brings you to that place? How can you find security when you're in the midst of unsafety? How do you come home in that way? How do you find ground to stand on when it feels like there's no ground to stand on? How do you find deep security? What gives you that sense of deep security? And I sort of leave you with these questions. I think they kind of are helpful for me in kind of giving a sense of direction in coming into that place of deep security. What helps me not to be afraid? What kind of actually takes my fear away? What gives me peace of heart? With whom, where, doing what do I have a sense of gratitude, a sense of deep belonging? What awakens in me a longing to care for others, especially the most vulnerable and forgotten? What brings me to these, these places is often what brings me into deep inner security. So I just leave you with this. The most important thing is deep inner connection, simply remembering who we really are, returning to the heart's estate, the grace of the world, the body of the universe, and surrendering to this, resting in this. T.S. Eliot says, and I quoted him earlier, "Quick now, here now, always, a condition of complete simplicity, costing not less than everything." And then being that change to another, embodying deep connection, being that change to our suffering world and to the suffering, frightened other at our side. So what ground do your feet stand on? Do they stand on the concrete? Do they stand on the asphalt? Or do they stand on the sprouting, thrumming, living earth? Okay, now we're going to try and find it out of screen.
Yeah.
I think it stopped share. There we go. There we go.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. I just love that story, and can see how it carries you forward every day when you go down the hill to work. So there will be a second meditation I wanted to introduce you to, and that is a kind of Tonglen meditation, giving and receiving, that I learned from actually a student of Dan Brown's, a teacher of mine. And when I think of myself, how I find security. It is definitely in my family, my friends, in the land. But it's also, I think I just come back to my meditation practice of 40 years now, this year 40 years, which really has been just reliably there for me, this other perspective that I can touch into, which doesn't cost anything, which is very simple and just really always there. And that always gives me a greater perspective. And I think with that comes also, what also helps me is a sense of service, because it gives me a place and a meaning and a sense of confidence. Even if I, like Sisyphus, don't really know where the stone will roll down again, but just something I do because it is the right thing. And in a way, that also gives me a sense of service and confidence. And I think you too, no? And I think we have been thinking recently again about, and I saw somebody in the New York Times wrote about him, Dr. Rieu and the Plague. Do you remember him? It's Camus' book. So if you haven't read it yet, you should. And it's this doctor in this town where the plague breaks out, and who just really finds meaning in being the good, best person he can be, no matter what the outcome is, which we really, really don't know what that will be. And so I want to guide you through this meditation. And so just make yourself comfortable again, and close your eyes or keep them slightly open, just as you like. Come to a place that's relaxed and alert at the same time. And again, let yourself feel the sensation in your body, the touch between your body and the chair, the cushion, the ground. Notice a sense of presence within and around you. Resting in the sense of presence here right now. And let's start with an intention for this meditation. And the intention is to wake up, to work on waking up gently. So, and to work that all beings will be free from suffering, that all beings can live well and at ease. And with us, that all beings can wake up to our interdependent nature, which is at the bottom of everything. To wake up to the realization that we are all part of the web of life. And that we wake up to the insight that we all be free from what holds us back, from being happy, from being safe, healthy, and at ease. And from this waking up to our interdependent nature, to this understanding that we are all part of the web of life, from that comes compassion and the understanding that we are all relatives, and that waking up and compassion are the two sides of the same coin. And may have compassion, may that have a rippling effect far and wide. May our caring, our well-wishing, our gentleness, or our furious compassion, our engagement, have a ripple effect like a stone that's tossed into a lake and that ripples outward. And notice again your breath brushing through the area of your body. Notice breath rising with the in-breath and falling with the out-breath. Arising out of this field that we all share and falling back into it. Noticing every instant of breath. Being awake and aware to every instant of breath. As it arises with the in-breath, as it falls with the out-breath. And surrender to your body being breathed. For breath to breathe you. And with Tonglen, we always start first with ourselves and see yourself as an aspect of the interdependent web of life. And engage in this practice from that perspective, not as an isolated, solitary little thing, but as an aspect, as part of this fluid, always changing, interdependent web of life. And do this practice from that perspective. And then at the center of your heart, of your chest, imagine a bright sun. Sun is there right at the center of your chest where your heart is. It's bright and radiant, shining, warm, and compassionate. And with each breath, the sun at the center of your heart is even more radiant, more bright, giving itself away, suffusing everything with its light. Then for a moment, notice your own fears and worries and maybe loneliness, anxiety, claustrophobia, maybe even a sense of alienation. And imagine those feelings as a dark cloud. And with the inhale, take those feelings in. And then as soon as they hit the brightness of the sun, they transform. The sun is so bright, so warm, so compassionate. And your worries and fears are instantly transformed into compassion and well-wishing towards yourself with the exhale. With the inhale, take in those worries of yours about the uncertainty, the existential fears, the personal fears, the financial fears. And instantly allow those be transformed by the brightness of the sun, radiating outwards. And with the rays of the sun, breathe out well-wishing and care and warmth towards yourself. For the next few breaths, breathe through the sun, and with each breath, the sun will be brighter again, warmer, more caring. And then think of a loved one, somebody who's easy for you to like or love, maybe somebody you worry about. And imagine this person. And with the inhale, take in the suffering as a darkish cloud. And as soon as this darkish cloud hits the sun at the center of your chest, where your heart is, this radiant, warm, bright sun, it instantly transforms. And breathe out well-wishing for this person you love, you might be worrying about. And with the next few breaths, breathe through the sun and make it even brighter, more energized, more warm, and more compassionate, like fanning a fire. And then next, think of those you know and those you may not know who are affected by the pandemic, who might suffer illness or loneliness or lack of income, or maybe right now very isolated somewhere, not being able to be visited. those who lost jobs or the certainty of a future they expected. And imagine all those who are worried about their economic well-being and that of their family. And take in their worry as a cloud. And as soon as this cloud hits the sun at the chest, your chest, in the middle of your chest where your heart is, as this worry hits this bright sun, this radiant sun, it instantly transforms. Instantly transforms. And breathe out love and caring and well-wishing towards all these people with the rays of the sun that reach everybody and everything. Inhaling the dark cloud of those who worry, those who are afraid, hitting the sun, transforming that worry, and breathing out your caring, your well-wishing, your love for them, and love for your world. And the rays of your sun are meeting all of those, warming them up, wishing them well. Notice breath brushing through ever so gently, fanning the sun at the center of your heart. And then last, imagine our whole world, all humans, in this time of change and uncertainty, their worries, their fears, their concerns, and beyond human beings, animal beings, nature, the earth, the waters, the skies, and feel all their uncertainty, the uncertainty they are facing, the dark clouds they might be facing. And with the inhale, take in these dark clouds, instantly hitting the sun at the center of your chest where your heart is, instantly transforming by this radiant light, this warmth, this compassion, this unlimited caring. And with the exhale, let the caring of your sun go out into the world, to the humans and animals and creatures, the earth, the waters, the skies, so that we all may be well taken care of, so that we all may wake up, and that we all experience compassion. And breathe with that feeling of taking in that what is cloudy and allowing it to instantly transform at the center of your chest, at this warmth of the sun, and letting it go with the exhale, letting the warmth, the light, the caring, the concern go out into the world and beyond. Breathe like that for a few breaths, taking in, transforming in the center of the sun, breathing out, giving and receiving and receiving and giving. endlessly. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. And may we become what we need to become to allow this to happen. And may the benefits of our practice together tonight go out into the world and beyond.